Now, there's big news in the cable news business today as two longtime familiar hosts were fired. Fox News announced this morning that Tucker Carlson is out. This was a short time after the network was still running promos for his show tonight. The move comes 1 week after Fox News agreed to pay $787.5 million to settle a defamation lawsuit from Dominion Voting Systems. About an hour later, Don Lemon said CNN fired him after 17 years at the network. Lemon was criticized in February over a comment that presidential candidate Nikki Haley was, quote, not in her prime. Carlson made headlines for several controversial comments as well. Fox News stood by him after audio surfaced of him calling women dogs when he defended the white supremacist Great Replacement theory on air, and when he said immigration made the United States, quote, poorer and dirtier. So the question, why was he fired now? NewsNation political editor Chris Starwelt joins me now. Chris, we're seeing reports that his firing had nothing to do with the Dominion lawsuit. What happened?
Well, look, I'm just glad for a little change of pace. And when reading about Fox News firings on the front page, that it's not me. So this is great. I'm very, very, very pleased with the change of pace. Look, I have no idea why now, after all that they went through with Tucker Carlson, after all of the ordeal, why now? And there's reporting coming out of the Wall Street Journal, there's reporting coming out of other places, and I don't know. But I asked the same question about this that I certainly ask about Don Lemon. Why did it take so long to do this? Why wouldn't you enjoy the benefits that you would have gotten? Don Lemon so clearly, obviously, was not able to be a good colleague. He had shown himself, and they gave him a chance after chance, and it wasn't going to happen. And they kept putting it forward. And so I think the lesson here is when you know you have somebody that can't work within the system, when you have somebody that's not going to do this stuff, get the advantage from firing them earlier. I think back to when they canned Glenn Beck on Fox back when ships were made of wood and men were made of iron, long in the before time. Fox got credit for firing Glenn Beck in the early going. They didn't wait until it was too far out of control. They acted proactively. In this case, it seems like closing the barn door after the horses are already
Well, we
out.
do know, Chris, I mean, there are reports that Rupert Murdoch himself is the one who ordered Tucker to be fired, and reports that this had something to do with a lawsuit filed by a producer against Fox. She was the chief booker on Tucker's show. By the way, it wasn't just Tucker who was fired. His executive producer was also fired. In this lawsuit, Abby Grossberg claimed that she was bullied, sexually harassed, subjected to anti-Semitic comments while working on Tucker's show. I mean, if it's about that, it would certainly fit the pattern of acting quickly. We don't know what's in this lawsuit and what might come out, but if it's related to that.
I mean, but today, for the diehard MAGA people who Fox was sucking up to after the 2020 elections, for those folks who they were so concerned about before, how will they receive the departure of Tucker Carlson? The audience that they were slavishly, desperately trying to cosset and flatter and keep, how will they respond to this firing? They will take it as an affront, because Tucker was the guy who said that January 6th maybe was a false flag. He was the guy who kept talking about the stolen election, and now he's gone. Whatever they say, those viewers that Fox executives were so concerned about 3 years ago, those people are going to understand it as they do, which is that Carlson was fired for speaking truth to power. And I bet that's what Carlson will say, too, when he starts his vertical subscription business or whatever comes next for him.
So don't you think then, Chris, that Rupert Murdoch needs to explain why? I mean, if it isn't about the fault, I mean, I don't know. There's also reporting out there that Rupert Murdoch was disturbed by Tucker Carlson's false flag allegations around January 6th, his 2000 Mules documentary, his selective editing of the January 6th videotapes that he got from Kevin McCarthy. You know, there are text messages and apparently reporting out there that Rupert Murdoch wasn't happy with that. Shouldn't he say exactly what's going on, though, if it was related to this harassment lawsuit from the former booker of Tucker Carlson's, if it was about sexism, if it was about anti-Semitism, shouldn't he just say, rather than allow the vacuum to give birth to all sorts of conspiracy theories?
If I was as rich as Rupert Murdoch, I would never explain anything to anybody ever again in my life. Of course, if I was as rich as Rupert Murdoch, I wouldn't be doing this crazy business. I would be enjoying myself. So I don't know what he thinks, but I will tell you this. You don't get to have it both ways. You don't get to stand by Carlson for what he said about January 6th. You don't get to stand by him then and then later say, but that's also kind of why we fired. You don't get to have it both ways. So that's what that is.
All right, Chris Starwell, I'm sure we'll hear a lot more in the coming days. Thanks so much for that reporting tonight. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.